Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're at question number 192. The point of these videos is to help you be prepared for your DevOps or SRE interviews. I'm trying to cover as many of the most important topics and as deep as possible. That way you feel prepared and you feel confident going into an interview. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It's nothing for you, but it actually makes a big difference in my channel. So I would really appreciate if you did that. Okay, so as you might know from my other videos, I did some research based on job descriptions on LinkedIn, 35 jobs, and these are the 15 topics I came up with. So the ones at the top, like cloud and CI/CD and monitoring and actual coding and scripting, are more important than the ones at the bottom, like design and containers. However, they're also not important. So as you spend more time on the top 5 or 6, please also spend some time in the bottom 9 or so. Okay, today we have a combination of topics. This can be considered an AWS question. It can also be considered a networking questions. So that's the topic for today. So the question is, if your company has an on-prem network and you also has an account on AWS, how do you set up VPN between the two? That's very simple, but it's actually the steps are not too complicated, but it does. There are like 4 or 5 steps in it to do. Your interviewer isn't expecting you to know all the little steps, but just general idea of how to get this done. So before I move on, my career advisor, Floyd Spencer, is giving away a 1 hour session for free. I'm not financially affiliated with him. He's very passionate about helping people. So yeah, please take care of his 1 hour free sessions. Okay, if you're in the job market. So this slide is a little crowded because there's a lot of sentences and words in it, but I'm going to give you a little summary of it. So first of all, you have to look at the subnets that you have between your on-prem and IP address space, basically, and AWS. So you have to make sure that they don't overlap, right? So that's number one. Then you have to, in AWS, you create what's called a virtual private gateway. This is kind of like a VPN endpoint in AWS, right? So now we have one endpoint set up on an AWS. Then what you do is you identify the public address of your firewall that you already have on-prem. So now you're working on the other side, right? You figure out the IP address, then using that IP address of your firewall and using the virtual gateway, it's like a router, like it's like a VPN connection, right? You set up what's called a site-to-site VPN on AWS. It's literally called that. So again, to do that, you need the IP address of your firewall and you need the IP address of the private gateway you just set up on step number 1. I really should have numbered the steps, but anyway. So now going down the list, next thing what you do is when you do that, AWS lets you actually it automatically generate a VPN configuration file. You have to use that on your firewall. If you have to download that file, upload to your firewall on your on-prem device and configure it. Now the connection is made, but just because there's a connection doesn't mean it's basically that level is basically authentication, right, between the two routers. And then once you've done that, now we have to actually set up a route so that your on-prem devices knows to go through this VPN connection to get to the virtual machines you have on AWS, and vice versa. You have to have the route set up on both ends, so that it's like paving a road, but then you have to know the street name to go in between, right? The cars have to know that this is the road to get to the other side, right? That's the idea. So if you can explain these 4 or 5 steps, or most of them, then you're good to go. Okay, if you have any further questions or a specific question you want me to answer, please find me on LinkedIn, or you can just leave a comment below, and I will see you next time.